Thanks, Brendan. Thanks for the opportunity to speak this afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. You'll have read from the background notes that I'm a sports psychologist. I'm also an avid collector of sporting quotations, and I'd like to start with one of my favourite sporting quotations. It comes from the basketball player Michael Jordan, arguably the greatest basketball player the world has ever seen. Some people would argue one of the greatest athletes in any sport the world has ever seen. The quote goes something like this: "In my career, I've missed over 9,000 shots. I've lost over 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted with the responsibility of taking the game-winning shot, and I missed. In my life, I've failed over and over and over again, and that is why I succeed." And one of the reasons I love that quote so much is that it goes straight to the heart of an area that I've been passionate about for the last 20 years or so. And that area is resilience and mental toughness. Now, these are terms that you would naturally, quite readily associate with the world of elite sports. I'm finding increasingly in my work in business that these terms are resonating more and more with the corporate culture. Why? Because corporate life these days is tough. It's different from how it was years ago. Relentless pressure, constant change, information overload. If we want our people to perform to their potential, we need them to be resilient, we need them to be mentally tough. This, of course, does not come naturally to most people. You may be surprised to hear that most elite athletes have to work exceedingly hard at their mental game. Resilience and mental toughness does not come easily to them. They have to learn the skills, they have to embed the skills, they have to practice these mental skills. So it doesn't come naturally. What I'd like to do in the short time I've got this afternoon is essentially pose one question to you. And that question is, how are we equipping the talent that we have in our organisations with the skills, with the tools that they need to become more resilient, to demonstrate more mental toughness? How are we coaching them? How are we creating a performance environment that is allowing them to develop mental toughness and resilience? Because it won't just happen on its own. This is a very real challenge. I believe if you look at the research, we know that 40 to 50 million working days a year are lost in the UK due to stress. The CBI estimates that this costs UK business approximately £7 billion a year. It's a serious issue. On a lighter note, recent research showed that city dwellers in the UK are walking 10% quicker than they were just 10 years ago. The pace of life is getting fast. In the 1950s, apparently, on average, we laughed about 18 to 20 times a day. These days, it's 4 or 5. We're not having as much fun anymore. We're not enjoying ourselves. So we need to teach people, we need to coach people to be more resilient, to be mentally tough. And of course, it's not helped by the British culture, the background culture that we have to live within. Because I have never thought that as a culture we've been particularly comfortable with this whole area of confidence, positive mental attitude, mental toughness. We've had an uneasy relationship with it. We've also, I think, had a somewhat uneasy relationship with winning. How comfortable are we with winning? The last 2 days I've been working with the England cricket team in preparation for the Lord's Test match, which started today. It's going on right now. And if you go back to the 1990s, we had this bizarre situation where England were playing a cricket match at Lord's, and an announcement came over the PA system, and it requested that the crowd applaud each side equally. Can you imagine the reaction to that at the Sydney cricket ground, or Melbourne or Brisbane in Australia? I don't think so. I remember flying out in the winter of discontent when we were hammered 5-0 in the Ashes by Australia a year or two ago. I remember flying into Brisbane getting to my hotel, going out for a walk around the town and seeing a public bus drive by. And in huge great letters down the side of the bus, it said, "The Poms are going to choke." You don't see that sort of thing for us. So I don't think this whole area of resilience and mental toughness comes easily to us. So there's my question. How do we coach people to get better at it? My research also has shown me that it's not a straightforward area. There are different types of mental toughness. I'm going to quickly go through the 4 types of toughness that I outline in a recent book that I wrote. And as I go through these 4 types of toughness, think about how you might rate yourself on each of these toughness types, or indeed rate the people that you work closely with. So number 1, I talk about turnaround toughness. This is what the football managers refer to as bounce-back ability. Your performance has been derailed. You've had a bad run, you haven't met your targets, bad feedback, disappointing appraisal from your boss. Your self-belief has been eroded. How do you regain that self-belief? What do you do? What tools, what tricks have you got to regain your self-belief and turn things around? That's turnaround toughness. As distinct from what I refer to as critical moment toughness. This is executing in the here and now. This is the business equivalent of sinking the 6-foot putt to win the Ryder Cup. Nailing the big presentation, nailing that big sales meeting, performing well in that 5-minute conversation that you have with your boss. Performing in the moment, in the critical moment. How would you rate yourself on that? And then we've got endurance toughness. This is about looking after ourselves physically. We know that stress has a massive impact on our health, on our immune system. We also know that when people are under stress, they eat the wrong things, they drink too much, they don't exercise, they do everything they possibly could, which is not what the textbook would recommend you do when you're under stress. So how good are we at looking after ourselves physically, at managing our energy levels? That's endurance toughness. And then fourthly, I talk about risk management toughness. Not reckless risk-taking, but calculated, confident risk-taking. Pushing yourself, raising the bar, putting your reputation on the line. How confidently can you do that? 4 types of mental toughness, which I think we can coach people on, we can teach them tricks and tools to improve in those 4 areas. If we do, I think we will help people get closer to their performance potential. And don't forget, recent research has indicated that only 1/3 of managers claim to perform at or near peak productivity. Only 1/3 say that they are performing anywhere near their peak productivity. That means 2/3 aren't. That would be a statistic which is completely unacceptable in my world of elite sport. Teach mental toughness skills, teach resilience skills, you're going to get people closer to that. Have I got 1 minute? This all might sound a bit gloomy and a bit challenging, so let's finish on a more upbeat note. I'll go back to sporting anecdotes and quotations. Let's just put it all in perspective, shall we? People who are resilient and mentally tough are good at keeping all of these challenges and pressures under perspective. Boris Becker, German tennis player, I've decided not to be so unbelievably happy every time I win and so unbelievably sad every time I lose. What a great perspective on life. Jonathan Edwards, our world champion Olympic gold medal triple jumper. Sometimes I lie in bed at night and think, what do I do for a living? You see doctors out in Rwanda making a difference. What do? I jump into a sandpit. What a great attitude. And finally, my favourite one, Matt Biondi, after losing his Olympic title in 1992. What did he say? My dog will still lick my face whether I win or lose. So it is tough out there, we can do something about it, but we've got to keep things in perspective along the way. Thanks for listening. I hope there's something in there for you to think about. Thank you.